Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. So in this video we are going to be reviewing the recently released psychological thriller movie The Lie, which is from the Welcome to Blumhouse production suite of films exclusively on Amazon Prime. Now the storytelling structure of this film is just incredibly slow and incredibly drawn out so that you can see the emotional impact of certain situations for all of the different characters, which is an interesting thought and an interesting way of telling stories. However, it just comes across as just being incredibly boring and incredibly dull. And the movie really could have actually been really interesting, as the premise is really great and the twist ending is also really great as well. But unfortunately, it just definitely was a classic case of style over substance in a really bad way. And I'm going to be breaking down everything to do with The Lie in this movie review. So in terms of the storyline for The Lie, it is centered around a character called Kayla, who is the daughter of divorced parents, and one day her father Jay is taking her to a retreat. And on the way to the retreat, they see her friend Brittany waiting on the motorway for a bus, and they decide to give her a lift to the retreat as well. The character of Kayla then gets really jealous of her best friend Brittany, as her friend Brittany is flirting with her father. They then randomly stop at a motorway, and the father Jay hears a scream, and then when he goes towards that direction, his daughter Kayla admits to pushing Brittany off a bridge. They then immediately go home, and the divorced parents then unite and vow to protect their daughter Kayla at all costs and no matter what they have to do it. So from a cast and characters point of view, for the most part, the cast of this movie are actually pretty decent, which also makes it such a shame and makes it really frustrating because the execution of this film is just so bad despite having a really decent cast attached to the film. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Joey King, who holds the movie together as playing the character of Kayla. And Kayla is just a typical shouty, moody, angsty teen character who clearly is going through a lot of trauma. I wouldn't say it's necessarily one of Joey King's best performances, but like I said before, she is the central character that the whole film is based and centered around, and she is able to hold the movie together fairly well. We then have the actor of Peter Sarasgaard, who plays the loving father character Jay, who will protect his family at all costs, no matter who he has to screw over to do it. We then have Mireille Enos, who also plays a very loving mother character, this time Rebecca. And similarly to the Jay character, she's a relatively nice person, but through the extreme circumstances that this movie puts this character through, you can see that even a nice person can go in a very dark direction. We then have Cass Amar, who plays the character of Sam, who is Brittany's worried and frantic father, who is a bit of a desperate man searching for his daughter. We then have the character of Brittany herself. We don't necessarily know that much about this character, but she did seem a little bit like a bit of a high school mean girl. And then finally we have the detective police officers who are trying to investigate this case, and they are a bit no nonsense in this film as well. So from a cast and characters point of view, whilst the cast and characters are decent, like I said before, unfortunately the executional style of this movie just really let the team down. So from a visuals point of view, that's another reason why I would say this movie is such a shame, as the set pieces of this movie were actually really impressive. All of the locations that these characters go to look absolutely amazing, breathtaking at some points actually. And the set pieces of the film, like I said before, are really believable. So you're totally with all of these different characters as they're experiencing all of these very tragic circumstances. But like I said before, the storytelling narrative just really lets this film down, as it's so slow and low energy based that it really detracts from the brilliant visuals. So unfortunately, whilst the visuals are great, the way in which this movie is told is really bad. So from a comparisons point of view, same old story, this movie really could have been great, but unfortunately the executional style really let it down. In terms of comparing it to the other Welcome to Blumhouse production movies, I would say unfortunately it's not as good as Black Box or Evil Eye, and in terms of comparing it to the other normal Blumhouse production movies, definitely nowhere near as good as Get Out or Us. That being said though, I would say that it is a lot better than Nocturne was. So throughout this movie, the parents of Kayla tried to take the focus away from Kayla and tried to refocus this on Sam, who was Brittany's father, and tried to paint him as a bit of an abusive father and him being the person that maybe got rid of his daughter. This then backfires on them, and more evidence is pointing the finger towards Kayla and their parents trying to cover something up. This pressure then gets too much for the parents and they decide to kill the character of Sam. And then the ultimate twist of the ending happens in this movie, where it's revealed that Brittany has actually been alive this whole time, and her and Kayla concocted a plan to pretend that Kayla had pushed Brittany off this bridge so that she could have gone away and spent time with her boyfriend. And the only reason that Kayla continued this lie was because she saw that her parents were getting closer and closer and reuniting, and she thought that if she continues this lie, then they will be able to stay as a happy family together. The police sirens then go off and the family embrace each other as they know what's to come due to them killing the Sam character off and the police going straight to their door. Which is where the movie ends, which is just such a shame, as it would have been really interesting to kind of see what would have happened next. But due to the very slow and drawn out nature of this movie, the runtime had been completed and we wouldn't be able to see what happens next, which is just another reason that this movie is just really disappointing. So overall, I would say The Lie is just really disappointing, as it had a decent premise and had decent visuals, but unfortunately the executional style of this movie was really bad, which ultimately just made the movie really boring, really slow, and really unengaging. And as such, I have to give this movie a 2.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.